Hey everyone, it's Prime here to talk about absorbing hits. When we are forward facing and a jammer or some opposing player comes and hits us from behind. In a legal target zone, hopefully, but you never know, so you should be prepared for anything. One of the things I wanted to cover before we get into like how to actually do that and what that actually looks like is that when we say the term absorbing a hit, it's a little bit of a misnomer. But what we're really doing is a force transfer. Whenever we talk about jammers coming in or opposing players coming in, we want it to be an equal force transfer. The ultimate goal, right, is that we absorb it, quote unquote absorb it, so that we don't move forward any. They're not pushing us forward with their force, or that you are hitting them with the same amount of force that they are hitting you, so that those forces cancel each other out and you don't go anywhere and they don't go anywhere. If you have a bigger jammer coming in at a higher speed, they're gonna have a ton of force behind them, which means that the force that you transfer back into them in order to stay in your spot is gonna have to be really high. The opposite is true, right? If you have a smaller jammer coming in slower, if they're gonna hit you, there's still gonna be force there, but you don't have to counteract that force with quite the same amount of your own force, or that's what we're aiming for. All right, so we're gonna do some absorbing of hits, and I have my lovely assistant over here, Scuttle. She's in the background somewhere. Hi, Scuttle. We're gonna practice absorbing hits from behind because it's really important. Force transfer, not absorption. So in this case, Scuttle's gonna be the blocker, and she is going to be preparing to take a hit from a jammer that's gonna come through and hit her pretty much at speed. So there's gonna be a lot of force behind it. One of the things that Scuttle wants to do is start in her normal derby stance, whatever that looks like for her. As the hit comes in, right before I make contact, she's gonna sink down just a tiny bit lower. She's kind of coming down underneath that force. And then she's gonna lean back into it. So remember, this isn't absorption. She's not trying to absorb my hit and roll forward. She's trying to meet me force for force so that both of us don't go anywhere. So I'm gonna come up behind Scuttle, and she sinks down and then pops her shoulder back just a little bit so that she can keep me from pushing her forward. The force has to go down into her and then back into me. If she goes down into the floor and then forward, she's gonna roll forward. So if she's not sinking down and leaning back at the same time that that force is coming, she's putting her force down into the floor instead of back into me, which is where it needs to go. So force to force right here where this movement is happening. There are a few things that she's doing with her feet that I want you to see. She knows I'm gonna come up and hit her. She's not gonna have her feet pointing straight forward, because if she does, the chances that I'm gonna push her forward are pretty large. So she's gonna cant her feet in like she's in a plow stop already, so that she can get some of that friction into the floor. So as I hit her, she's sinking down and pushing back into me against her brace, and she's got that little kick into the floor. Last piece, just like with any hit, regardless of where it's gonna happen, you should brace your core. Scuttle's gonna prepare herself right here, as though instead of hitting her in her target zone, I'm gonna reach around and punch her in the stomach instead. So as she's sinking down and leaning back, she should also be bracing that core for that hit to come. Can you be loosey-goosey? Trying. Okay. Now she's gonna come through, sink, brace, pop back into me. Perfect. Right, nice. Sit all over you. Perfect. It's never going to be perfect, right? The force that she puts into me is never going to be exactly equal to the force that I put into her. She might pop forward a little bit, but the idea is that as she sinks down and leans back into me, she's also stabilizing her own stance, so that if I pop her forward a little bit, she's still right in front of me and ready to block. That's it. I think that's it. We did it!